has been practicing law as a senior advocate, former finance minister, member of parliament, and who has few parallels in modern India. Mr. Chidambaram has been setting benchmarks in his field of work and is continuously contributing by providing his opinion, critical views on Indian economy and social issues. With his fine acumen in finance and administration, his regular assessment of Indian economic, financial and law and order scenarios has helped enhance level of public discourse. His critical view on burning issues on recent times like GST and others have kept the government on tenterhooks and forced them to change their policies from time to time. Mr. Chidambaram has been writing and speaking about the financial policies of present government that has been badly affecting Indian economy and its dubious policies. Mr. Chidambaram, since first becoming Member of Parliament in 1984, has served the nation in various capacities. He is known for his visionary budgets during his tenure as Finance Minister of India and had become popular as the architect of Dream Budget. With his immense knowledge on home affairs and finance, today he will guide us on how divisive politics is having adverse effect on Indian economy. We are grateful and honored to have a person here amongst us for the first time in Thane city who has taken India to great heights during his illustrious public life. Please welcome the man with a plan, Mr. P. Chidambaram.
Good evening to all of you. Shri Ashok Chavanji, former Chief Minister and President of the Maharashtra Pradesh Congress Committee. Shri Kumar Ketkar ji, the newly elected MP from the state, from Thane, and from the journalist community. Shri Manoj Shinde ji, President of the District Congress Committee. Shri Vikram Chavan ji, Shri Subhash Kanade ji, Srimati Suman Agarwal, Srimati K. Vishali, other members of the Pradesh Congress Committee, District Congress Committee, Municipal Corporation Congress Committee, MLAs, corporators, my young friends from the Youth Congress, NSUI, my friends from the Mahila Congress and Sevadak, members of various industrial associations in and around Thane, were very kind to receive me and represent their grievances. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply grateful to the Maharashtra Pradesh Congress Committee and the Thane City District Congress Committee for organizing this program. This is the political platform, but I will not make an entirely political speech. I cannot promise you there will be no political element in my speech, but I promise you that I will try to speak beyond politics, above politics, about issues that concern you, that concern me, and that concern our children and our grandchildren. In a democracy, governments will come and governments will go. There's nothing unusual about it. When Jawaharlal Nehru adopted democracy as the form of government for India, when Mahatma Gandhi blessed it, and when Dr. Ambedkar gave shape to it, I think everyone knew that the Congress party will not be the ruling party for all time to come. Especially in a large country like India, which is divided into states, common sense will tell us that different parties will rule at different times, parties will come, parties will go, governments will come, governments will go, and therefore no party can claim or expect that it will rule a state or a country all the time. In Maharashtra itself, the Congress party was the dominant party for many years. But then it yielded place to other parties. Offshoots of the Congress have ruled the state. Rival political parties have ruled the state. But until recent times, no one felt that there was a grave threat to the very concept of idea, the very survival of India, the very concept of India, the very survival of India as we knew it and as our constitution gave it to us. I come from a state, Tamil Nadu. The Congress party has not been in power for almost 50 years. But there is no fear, there was no fear in Tamil Nadu that democracy is in danger, or the idea of democracy is in danger. There was no fear. Merely because the Congress party is not in power, we don't fear that that is in danger. But things have changed in the last 4 years. This is what Ashok Chavanji referred to. This is what Kumar Ketkarji referred to. Things have changed in the last 4 years. And it is this that brings me to speak to you about divisive politics and stagnant economy. Let's first deal with the economy. This state has given ministers to the present government. One of the ministers yesterday said, when the Narendra Modi government took office, India's economy was in the dumps, and it was growing at about 4.5% a year. You must have read it in this morning's newspapers, you may have seen it on television. Now this is a responsible minister who is elected from Madhya Pradesh, from Maharashtra. Now where does he get this number? Who has given him this number? The government's own numbers, the Modi government's own numbers say that in 2013-14, when the UPA government laid down office and the NDA took office on the 26th of May 2014, India's GDP was growing at 6.3% a year. It was about 5.7% in 2012-13, and then it was 6.3% in 2014-15 when the changeover took place. This is the government's own numbers. They are published numbers. The minister can't say he doesn't know the numbers, or if he knows the numbers, he can't read the numbers properly. Now, where do we stand today? After 4 years, where is our economy growing? I'm using the government's own numbers. In 2014-15, the economy grew by 7.5%. They changed the methodology. They changed the manner in which the economy will be measured, but I will ignore that for the time being. I will accept that their 7.5 is comparable to the 6.3. It is not, but I will assume so. So from 6.3, it went to 7.5. And in 2015-16, it went to 8.2. So when UPA bequeathed an economy, it was on a rise. 5.7 in 2012-13, 6.3 in 2013-14, new government takes over, 7.5 in 2014-15, and then 8.2 in 2015-16. It is still less than the average of UPA, but it is somewhere coming near the average of UPA. The UPA's average was 8.5. And for 3 years, we crossed even 9%. But at least it was a rising economy. Now, what has the NDA done? The NDA, the Modi government, damaged the economy. The first major damage was demonetization. You know, I know what the demonetization did. Demonetization destroyed small and medium industry. Demonetization destroyed jobs in the unorganized sector. Demonetization virtually crippled the construction industry. Self-employed persons, carpenter, tailor, plumber, electrician, didn't have jobs for 30 days, 40 days, 45 days. Petty business persons, flower vendor, fruit vendor, vegetable vendor, cart puller, rickshaw puller, daily worker, Khet Mazdoor. They had no jobs for almost 2 months. Restaurants reported a fall in business of 50%. Shops were empty. Demonetization virtually destroyed the India's economic momentum. And what did they say was the objective of demonetization? The first objective was we'll eliminate fake currency. Have they eliminated fake currency? Only yesterday, the papers reported, and today a paper reported in Mumbai, that huge amounts of 2,000 rupee notes, fake currency, has been seized. Has fake currency completely gone? And when all the cash came back, how much did the Reserve Bank find to be fake currency? Reserve Bank found 0.2% is fake currency. 0.2% is fake currency. So that objective failed. The second objective, which the Prime Minister said in his address at 8 p.m., was we will eliminate terrorist financing. Fake currency is funding terrorists. By demonetization, we will end fake currency and we will end terrorism. Now what has happened? Barely days after demonetization, 3 terrorists were shot dead in Srinagar. And on the bodies of the dead terrorists, you found 2,000 rupee notes fake currency. It took them only 15 to 20 days to print the 2,000 rupee note which had been introduced in India. Fake currency is a worldwide phenomenon. The most widely counterfeited notes in the world is the US dollar. If one person can print genuine currency, it will take 2 months or 3 months or 4 months for another person with equal intelligence to imitate that currency. All you need is to get the paper, to get the ink, to get the design, to study the security features, and you can print fake currency. No country has been able to stop printing a fake currency. All that you can do is try to keep one step ahead of those who print fake currency. That is why the Reserve Bank changes the security features once in 2 years to remain slightly ahead of those who can print fake currency. So fake currency was not abolished either. And in terms of terrorism, the worst phase of terrorism started after demonetization. In 2015, there were 208 incidents of terrorism in Kashmir. In 2016, it increased to 322. In 2017, it increased to 342, the highest in 10 years. The number of security forces killed, 2015 was 39, 2016 was 82, and 2017 was 80. The number of civilians killed in 2015 was 17, in 2016 was 15, in 2017, after demonetization, increased to 40. And in 2018, up to 16th of May, so far, 32 civilians have been killed. So terrorism has not come to an end. And the third and the last objective was we'll eliminate black money. And if we eliminate black money, we will eliminate corruption. Now I ask you, many of you are business people, has black money been eliminated? Has corruption been eliminated? Can you get your plans sanctioned without paying money? Can you get your building plan sanctioned without paying money? Can a farmer get his patta transferred without paying money? Can a poor man get his caste certificate or income certificate without paying money? Was a Rafale deal done without paying money? And now you hear another company has asked the government of India to investigate a helicopter deal where they said money was paid. And I hear that the minister of this state has built a house on land reserved for a fire station, and a garden. Was that done without paying money? Every objective of demonetization failed. 15,44,000 crore worth of currency was demonetized. And they said when the money comes back to the Reserve Bank, we are going to find out how much of that is black money, and we are going to impound all of that to the government. And in the Supreme Court of India, the Attorney General of India told the Chief Justice of India's court, we're going to save 3 to 4 lakh crore for the government when we impound the money. All the money has come back. All the money has come back. Every single rupee has come back to the Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank is only a few kilometers away from here. If you ask them how much money has come back, they're saying we're still counting the money. That's why I said one day, your counting machines are like the electronic voting machines. They seem to be able to count very fast. Why don't you go to Tirupati? Why don't you go to Tirupati? There's a hundi in Tirupati. People put money in the hundi in Tirupati. Crores of rupees are put every day. There are people called hundi collection counters. They are volunteers. Why don't you get the Tirupati hundi counters, collectors to Reserve Bank of India? They will count the money faster. By now they would have counted the money. In every way, demonetization, utter disaster. On the very same day, I said this is an utter disaster and the Congress party must stoutly oppose it. Next day, the Congress party took the position it was a disaster. Please remember, some parties were completely confused. Many parties were not sure whether it was good or bad, and therefore they did not make a strong comment for several days. Newspapers were confused. They wrote editorials saying, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe this is going to revive the economy. But I was absolutely clear in my mind, on day one, the demonetization was an utter disaster. And I said at a press conference the next day that this will cost India's economy very greatly. And I will tell you now how it has costed India's economy. A few days later, in a debate in Parliament, Dr. Manmohan Singh stood up and made that famous short speech when he said, demonetization is an utter disaster, is monumental loot and organized plunder. And he said, India's economy will suffer a blow of at least 2% of GDP. I put it at 1.5%. Dr. Manmohan Singh ji put it at 2%. And then see what happened. Remember what I said a little while earlier? In 2014-15, growth rate was 7.5. So it went up 6.3, 7.5, 8.2. Demonetization takes place, comes down to 7.1. And what did the government say? The worst is over. We will go back to 8% growth. Now what happened? The results came out 3 days ago. In 17-18, from 7.1, it has come down to 6.7. So it's exactly where we started. After 4 years of Modi government, we have a declining economy. The UPA bequeathed to the NDA a rising economy. The NDA is going to leave next year with a declining economy. I'm worried about the declining, but I'm glad at least this government will leave next year and another government will take it. In every way, demonetization has cost this country at least 1.5%, perhaps 2%. From 8.2 to 6.7 is a decline of 1.4%. This is 1.5%, exactly what I said. Exactly what I said has come. From 8.2 to 6.7 is a decline of 1.5%. And that's a huge cost. When the economy declines by 1.5%, per capita income declines. Creation of jobs collapses. New business doesn't start. New investments don't take place. Bank deficits grow slowly. Bank credit grows slowly. Now what is the position today? I asked some of you, where are you getting your credit today? And businessmen told me, banks are not giving them credit. Which bank is giving you credit today? No manager in India is willing to give you a loan today. Every loan proposal is to go to the head office. And chairmen, CEOs of banks have told me, I meet them on flights, I meet them here and there, and I ask them, how is your bank doing? He smiles, and I said, how is the loan portfolio? How are you doing? He then lowers his voice and comes close to me and said, sir, I have 8 months to retire. The answer to the question, how is your loan portfolio doing? How many loans are you giving? The answer is, sir, I have 8 months to retire. There are no loans. Show me one newspaper. Show me one newspaper advertisement which says, Bhumi Puja today for a 3,000 crore plant. Foundation stone laid by the Chief Minister for a 5,000 crore power plant. Show me one advertisement. The only advertisements are when Mr. Modi smiles at us and says, he no longer talks about Achhe Din now. They know Achhe Din is gone now. They know Achhe Din will never come. They're now talking about some Sahi, what is that? Saaf Niya Sahi Vikas. From Achhe Din it has come down to that. They no longer, nobody talks about Achhe Din. That's all that you get. Newspapers are today surviving thanks to the advertisement given by the government, not because investments are taking place and there's economic activity taking place. Show me any place in Maharashtra. Show me any place in Maharashtra where a 5,000 crore industrial plant is coming up. Show me any place in Maharashtra where a 5,000 crore industrial estate is coming up. Or a special economic zone is coming up. There are no investments today. The first major blow was demonetization. The second, and it's still unfolding, is GST. Now, GST was our idea. In fact, I was the first person to stand up in Parliament as Finance Minister and say, now that we have accomplished VAT, now that the UPA government has rolled out VAT with the cooperation of all states throughout the country, and VAT is a success, the next logical step is GST, and I hope India will have a GST in 3 years. I said this in the budget speech of February 2006. For 8 years, the BJP opposed GST. Their memories may be short, but my memory is not short. Your memories are not short. For 8 years, the BJP opposed GST. The leader who led the opposition was Mr. Narendra Modi. He had a finance minister by name Mr. Saurabh Patel. The other chief minister who led the opposition was Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan of Madhya Pradesh. He had a finance minister by name Mr. Raghavji. Mr. Raghavji and Mr. Saurabh Patel will come to the meetings and they will oppose GST. They will not let GST move forward. We constituted a council of finance ministers. Other finance ministers were being persuaded to come on board. But the two chief ministers who led the opposition, the two finance ministers who led the opposition were the Gujarat finance minister and the Madhya Pradesh finance minister. Both of them are happily with us, and let them deny what I am saying today. Let Mr. Saurabh Patel and Mr. Raghavji stand up and say, no, we did not oppose GST. Tooth and nail. Until the last day of the UPA, they opposed GST. So GST was our idea, not BJP's idea. GST was supposed to be a good and simple tax. Today it has become a Gabbar Singh tax. And I'll explain why I say it's a Gabbar Singh tax. When Mr. Rahul Gandhi said it is a Gabbar Singh tax, he did not say it without thinking. I will justify why it is a Gabbar Singh tax. Simple question. You pay GST, you are entitled to a refund. Are you able to get your refund today? That is Gabbar Singh tax. If I pay more tax and I am entitled to a refund, I don't get a refund, that is Gabbar Singh tax. My money, you have stolen. You have taken my money, I am entitled to the money back, you are not giving the money. Many of you are businessmen, let me ask you a few questions. In income tax, there is something known as a revised return. In VAT, there is something known as a revised return. In excise, there was something known as a revised return. In customs, there was something known as a revised return. In GST, do you have a revised return? They said we are going to have GST 1, GST 2, GST 3. GST 1 is a form for outward supply. GST 2 is a form for taking input tax credit. GST 3 is your next tax liability. Output liability minus input tax credit. Am I right? GST 1 has been notified. Has GST 2 been notified? Has GST 3 been notified? Then how do you calculate your tax? How did this government introduce GST 1, GST 2 and GST 3 without even preparation of when to notify GST 2 and when to notify GST 3? The first notification said, temporarily we will introduce GST Form 3B. This will be enforced for 2 months. By that time, we will notify GST 2 and GST 3, and then everything will be all right. This is in July 2017 and August 2017. Today, we are in June 2018. Why have they not notified GST 2 and why have they not notified GST 3? Why is GST Form 3B continuing for the last 12 months? Which is why you're not getting a refund. Some of you have got an excess credit register, excess in the credit register. Some of you have got an excess in the cash register. Can you get a refund of your excess in the credit register? Look at the section. Does a section allow for applying for refund? Is there a form for applying for refund? Is there an authority for applying for refund? Why are you not getting refund? Is because the section does not allow you to apply for refund. There is no authority to apply for refund. There is no way you can get a refund of the excess in the credit register. This is why there is a complete mess today. How many times is the e-way bill introduced and deferred? Introduced, deferred. Introduced, deferred. Introduced, deferred. Then it was introduced in 2 states, then 4 states. And today they say we're going to introduce the remaining states. But you realize that under the e-way bill system, if you take a truck from this street in Thane to 3 streets away in Thane, you'll have to have an e-way bill. How can you have an e-way bill for moving something from this street to 3 streets later? But that is your e-way bill system. The GST is a mockery of GST. I told them, don't call it GST and give GST a bad name. Call it like some other name. Call it BJP tax. Why do you call it GST? The world over, GST is a simple tax. It is a single rate applicable across the board. Yes, of course, people will find it difficult to accept a single rate on day one. which is why the Chief Economic Advisor, in his report, which I read in Parliament, said, yes, we understand. People of India are used to multiple rates. When we introduce a single rate, there will be some protest. They will let us have 3 rates. Let us have a GST rate, a normal rate. Then let us have a normal plus and a normal minus for the first 6 months or 12 months, transition period. After the transition period is over, let us tell people, listen, we now converge to a single rate. The world over, my friends, GST is a single rate. In a few countries, it is a dual rate. So if India can't accept a single rate, you can have a dual rate. But how can you have 8 rates? 0, 0.3, 5, 8, 12, 18, 28, 40, and then cesses on top of that. How is this GST? This is not GST. Today, your liability is being determined under GST Form 3B, which is not sanctioned by law. Your liability should be determined only under Form 3B, Form 3. But Form 3 has not been notified. And the government is taking the tax under Form 3B, which is completely illegal, which is why there is no provision for refund, which is why you are suffering. Now you understand how they've messed up GST. It's going to take a lot of effort to completely unravel this mess. This mess cannot be unraveled very easily, but it will take effort, it will take time, and I promise you, the next government will come and unravel the GST. This government cannot do it. This government is incapable of doing it. This government is incompetent. You will have to live with this mess. You will have to suffer this mess until the next government, whoever forms the government, until the next government comes and unravels this mess called GST. Then, of course, there is that famous RERA. I know it affects the construction industry largely. Now ask friends, in Thane Municipal Corporation area, how many new units were started on an average every year? And friends told me that every year before demonetization and before RERA, we were starting about 8,000 to 10,000 units per year. And I said, today, how many units are you starting? They said, we are starting between 4,000 and 5,000 units. It's a fall in business by 50%. You go to restaurants, fall in business of 50%. You go to shops, fall in business of 50%. On a Saturday, on a Friday evening, on a Saturday, on a busy road, of any major city. In Chennai, it is Anna Salai, or what we call Mount Road. In T Nagar, in what we call Paris Corner, or Nungambatam High Road. At 6 o'clock in the evening, 7 o'clock in the evening, textile shops, footwear shops will be thronging with people. Today you go to these brand showrooms, at 5:30, 6 o'clock evening, most shops are empty. There's one customer, or there are 2 customers. Where are the customers? Where is private consumption? There are 4 engines of growth. Any economist will tell you that. There are 4 engines of growth. The first is private investment. The second is private consumption. The third is exports. And the fourth is government expenditure. It's like 4 wheels of a car. A car runs on 4 tires. All 4 wheels, all 4 tires must be properly inflated. There must be alignment of the tires. If all 4 tires are properly inflated, there's alignment of the wheels, the car can go at a high speed. If one tire is punctured, how can the car run? It will run for a little while. If two tires are punctured, I can't see a car running. If three tires are punctured, can the car run? India's economy today is a car running on three punctured tires. And I'll explain what I mean. First is private consumption. Private consumption today has fallen to a 8-9-year low. People are not consuming enough. The whole basis of a market economy is people must consume. You must buy. If you buy, then I will produce. It's only when you buy I will make. If you don't buy, what will I make? If you don't buy shoes, why will I make shoes? If you don't buy clothes, why will I make clothes? A market economy runs on consumption. Only when you buy, I will make. Only when I make, I will invest. So absent consumption, there is no production. And absent production, there is no investment. This is elementary economics. Private consumption today is at an 8-9-year low. People are afraid to spend. They don't know what will happen to petrol prices tomorrow. Gas prices were increased by 50 rupees yesterday. LPG cylinder was increased by 50 rupees yesterday. They don't know what will happen tomorrow. I will talk about gas prices in a moment. So private consumption is an 8-9-year low, which is the first punctured tire. Second is private investment. Because private investment is at a low again. Every economist agrees, RBI agrees in its report. There is hardly any investment. How can there be investment? In the power sector alone, 30,000 megawatts of power capacity already created is lying idle. Because they don't have coal, or they don't have some clearance, they don't have environmental clearance, or they don't have water, or they don't have a grid connectivity, or there is some dispute going on. 30,000 megawatts, 30,000 megawatts of power capacity is lying idle. If 30,000 megawatts of power capacity is lying idle, why would anybody invest in power? Take steel. Of the first 12 companies sent to insolvency, 5 companies are steel companies. If 5 major steel companies have gone to insolvency, who will invest in steel? Take coal. 122 coal licenses were cancelled. Government auctioned them. Today, of the auctioned coal mines, only a dozen or so are back in production. All other coal mines are not in production. If so many coal mines that have been auctioned are not in production, why would anybody invest in coal mines? Today, industrial capacity utilization is 60%. Plant load factor of your power plants is 60%. If there is so much idle capacity, if so much unutilized capacity, why would anybody invest today? Which is why nobody is investing. So private investment, private consumption, next is private investment is a punctured tire. The third is exports. I don't want to burden you with numbers, but numbers tell a story better than words. When UPA took over, our merchandise export was $63 billion. That is 6,300 crore dollars. 5 years later, 10 years later, it went up 5 times from $63 billion to $315 billion. 5 times exports went up in 10 years. Under the NDA government, it has not crossed $315 billion. In 2 years, it was slightly above $300 billion. In 2 years, it is below $300 billion. So when you start with $315 billion, last year ended with $303 billion. In between, it went down to 262 and has come back to 303. So export growth is zero. If export growth is zero in the 4 years of Mr. Modi's government, I want to ask, what was the Commerce Minister doing? What was the Industry Minister doing? What was the Finance Minister doing? Export growth in this country in the last 4 years is zero. Actually, it is negative. It is zero. So the third punctured tire is exports. So what is driving this car? This car is not moving. This car appears to be moving. It is not moving. Private investment is down. Exports are negative. Private consumption is low. The only thing driving this government is government expenditure. Government is taxing you and spending the money. When government pays more salaries to its government servants, the GDP grows. That's how GDP is calculated. When government lays roads, that is government expenditure. When government spends on education, that is government expenditure. When government spends on health, that is government expenditure. I'm not saying that is bad, but that is like driving a car on one tire, one wheel. It is government expenditure which is keeping the economy going. If government runs out of money, even that tire will be punctured. Which is why they are taxing petrol, they are taxing diesel, they are taxing petroleum products to the hilt and making you cry every day when you fill your gas tank, when you fuel tank with petrol or diesel. When we were in government, the average price for crude oil was $105 a barrel. $105 a barrel is the average. On July 8, 2008, it went up to $145 a barrel. Average was 105. It never came down below $100. When the NDA government came, they got a bonanza. Prices collapsed worldwide. It went down to $26 a barrel. From 105 average, it went down to $26 a barrel. For nearly 2.5 years, it was $40 a barrel. Then it became $50 a barrel for a long time. Only in the last 2 months or so, it has come up to about $78 a barrel. But $78 a barrel is still far less than $105 a barrel. I ask you, why is petrol today and why is diesel today in the city of Mumbai or Thane costlier than it was in May 2014? In May 2014, crude oil was $105 a barrel. Today it is $78 a barrel. Why is petrol costing more? Why is diesel costing more? In the cost of production alone, they have saved 15 rupees a litre. They have added another 10 rupees to excise duty. They are making a killing of 25 rupees a litre. They are squeezing you. They are socking you. They are damaging you. They are picking your pocket. This horse, this pony knows only one trick. It will tax petrol. It will tax diesel. It will tax LPG. It will tax CNG. Squeeze you and then spend money. That's the only way this government can keep the economy going. It has no other ideas. It has no idea how to run the economy. Which is why in India today we are in a situation where we've got moderate growth, stagnant economy and no jobs. Let me conclude this part. We're talking about jobs. Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs? Demonetization destroyed jobs. GST destroyed jobs. If construction industry has come down by 50%, so many jobs have been destroyed. In Tamil Nadu, most construction workers came from Bihar and Odisha. After demonetization, Most of them have gone back to their villages in Odisha and Bihar. They came because of poverty in those states. They thought here was an opportunity to build. Construction industry was growing in Tamil Nadu. They came to Chennai, they came to Coimbatore, they came to Madurai. Now they've all gone back to their villages in Odisha and Bihar, where there are no jobs. Where are the jobs? Let me ask you. ILO, International Labour Organization, defines a job as regular, certain, and with a reasonable degree of security. A job means when I get up in the morning on Monday, I know there is a job in Thane, at this street, this number. A regular job. When I go there, I must be certain that I'll be allowed to come in and do my job. And I must have reasonable security that tomorrow I can come back to the job. Only that is a job. In small towns you will find in the early morning at 7 o'clock, small groups of men gathered in the chowk or gathered near the bus stand. A truck will come, pick them up and take them 20 kilometers away to do daily workers' jobs. That is work, that is not a job. There is no certainty. There is no certainty, there is no regularity that that job will be available every day. So job is something which is regular, certain, and with a reasonable degree of security. Now I ask you, anyone here who can tell me that a member of his family, his son, daughter, nephew, brother-in-law, or anyone of his neighbor's family, next house, opposite house, same building, third-story flat, or anyone on that street, or anyone in that mohalla, anyone in that ward, or if you're a village, anyone up there, anyone who can tell me, yes, I know this young man has got a regular job in the last 12 months. And I've asked this question in a dozen places all over India, no hand goes up. That is a reality. That is a reality. There are no jobs being created. What few jobs are available are what I call replacement jobs. Somebody retires, you appoint somebody. Somebody dies, you appoint somebody. Somebody goes to Dubai, you appoint somebody. Somebody migrates to Malaysia, you appoint somebody. Those are replacement jobs. No new jobs are being created in this country. And then the Prime Minister says, and the ruling party says, we have created crores of jobs. Mudra loans have created crores of jobs. You know the average of a Mudra loan? The average Mudra loan is 43,000 rupees. 43,000 rupees. You're all businessmen here. Many of you are businessmen. I will give you 43,000 rupees today. Create a job for me. How can you create a job for 43,000 rupees? In 43,000 rupees, a tailor can put a fan in his shop, can buy a table, can buy some new scissors. A barber can buy some new instruments, cutting machines, knife, shaving blades. A cobbler can buy some new tools, new needles. A baker can maybe buy an oven. How can you create a regular job for 43,000 rupees? And the government says our Mudra loans are creating crores of jobs. The only job you can create with 43,000 rupees is pakoras. You can buy flour and fry pakoras, stand in a corner and sell. That may not even cost you 43,000 rupees. And they said even pakora frying is a job. Next they will recommend to the ILO, define pakora frying as a job. There are no jobs in this country. And I ask you, And I ask you sincerely, do you want your son or daughter to have a job equal to frying pakoras? What do we want for our children? We want our children, our grandchildren, to live in a country which is better. Better than our lives, better than the country in which we have lived in. I have lived most of my life now. I know that my country has improved. I'm not denying that. Life expectancy has gone up. Infant mortality has come down. Maternal mortality has come down. Medical facilities, at least for the well-to-do people, are better. In cities it is better. There are more roads. There is more electricity. I'm not denying that. It is because successive governments have built. But for my child, for my grandchild, I want it to be even better. I want this country to become a better country, a richer country, a more prosperous country. But do I have that confidence today? I don't. I don't have that confidence for two reasons. The first reason why I don't have that confidence is the economy is stagnant, it is not growing. In